Yeah, good morning, everyone. Yeah, we're coming to the conclusion, to the closure of our camp. And here, I'm still under this topic, engaging people and bringing them along with you. And I'd like to start by giving a testimony, a little bit of story on how I was engaged. And some people took me along with them and how it has worked. Well, I became a pastor when I was 6 months in the Lord. And to me, I never believed it could happen, so I actually turned it down. And I was very strong on that. I didn't want, and even with not considering the amount of time that I've been in the Lord, altogether, as I came to the Lord, I never contemplated that I would ever become a pastor. I didn't actually want to become a pastor. So at this time, after 6 months, I was faced with this and I was asked to go and look for some people elsewhere, somewhere in the village, to leave the town that I was used to, and I was doing something for my life, just to go in the village where there was nothing, to rot there in the name of looking after people. To me, I felt very bad. And I looked at these pastors and I thought, I didn't want to use words like they are not, but I thought they are not loving enough. They just want me to go and die. So at the end of everything, I said to them, okay, I am not ready. I'm not going. So the whole day, they didn't want to kind of engage me or talk to me. And I remember one of them said to me, remember what Jonah did. So the whole of that day, we are not in good terms, so to say. But we went on preaching the gospel, but they thought this man is a difficult man. So at the end of the day, I sat down and I was not feeling good. And I thought, what's the meaning of life? I've been looking for the truth. I've got the truth. Now the Lord has, these servants of God, they want me to go and help. I don't want, because I'm looking for my own life. I'm choosing what to do. So what if I die? But they didn't know what I was thinking about. They thought. So at the end of it, I said to them, hello? They said, oh, yes. I said, listen. Oh, yes. I'm ready to go. They said, oh, yes. But I said, I'm ready to go and die. Whatever the cost, I will go. But one thing that haunted me, that in the whole day, one of them told me, as I said, remember what Jonah did. That kept on coming in my life, coming to me. So after that, one of the problems, my fear was to go to the village, face my parents. I was at the age of 27. My young brother was married. My parents were pushing me into it. I didn't want to get involved with, last life of women and getting married. So now these pastors said, we will take you to your parents. We will speak to them so that they understand why you are there. So that they will not think that you are crazy. So, well, that was good. So I remember from Mombasa to my village, is over 520 kilometers. And this man we drove from Mombasa to my village. And There I was, early in the morning. My parents and many other people came. And I started a new life altogether. That very day, where I expected to go, I actually didn't go there. But in the very doorstep, many people came. We prayed for people, and over 56 people received the Holy Spirit. They were baptized the following day, and I started there. I was coming to look after a group of about 10 elsewhere, but it started right from there. Then from there, a new life started. Now, the reason I give this story, I just want to tell about this man. One of them is here is Pastor Brian and Bob Hutton, and the other one was Victor Samalenko, and my pastor then is the late Pastor Misha. They engaged me, and I proved hard. But at that point where I made a stand, and I said my life is meaningless without serving God. If I die, so be it. At that moment, from that moment up to date, that was a very decisive moment in my life. It always comes to me. And there are certain times when that has always had a meaning in my life. And I keep on asking, how did this man know what would happen? And had they not engaged me and persuaded me, I would never have made that move. I would never have made that decision. However, it was a hard decision. Then a time came for the split. Pastor Samalenko was the liaison pastor. And here he comes, and he tells me, Pastor Sammy, you have to announce to the whole church that Pastor Brian and Bob Hutton and John Coleman, they are backslidden. Announce it to everyone. Then I faced him and said, what? He said, yes. So I said to him, could you please explain to me what you mean? Then he said, there was this and that, and then there was that, this about policy and all that. I said, okay, I don't understand. And then the end result was, because of loyalty, we had to remain with RCI for some time. But to announce that kind of announcement, to me, no. One thing that I decided, and I couldn't do it, was that the lives of Pastor Brian and Brother Bob, and particularly Pastor Brian, was too close to the people. He had actually engaged nearly everyone, and he had gone into their lives. He had trained them and taught them and ministered and led by example. He did everything. To a great extent, he had done things that by the time he leaves, we would think this man will never come back again. But then he comes again. Wherever we go, where he sleeps, what kind of life, how does he survive? And he comes again and again. And then after a problem, which you don't know, somebody says, now announce that that man is backslidden. I knew then that if I say that, everyone will go home and say, we don't want to come to church now. So we had a very hard time. So after a short time, after some months, with RCI, that's my first time to come to Australia. A plane was paid for me to come to Melbourne, attend the international convention there. And I was taken to many places, Mackay, Brisbane, and I was treated well. And Pastor Victor Semelenko made sure that we remain with RCI. He tried to help us in any way financially. And that went on that way for some time. But there was something missing. That was not very important to us. We would only meet Pastor Semelenko in our hotel, but he would never go to these interior places where Pastor Brian used to go. So for that short time, we missed a lot, and we felt that there's a gap. There's something we are missing. We are not getting the teachings. We are not getting the real directions. We are not getting the touch. So I remember eventually Pastor Victor cried before me. He wept when he found again I'm difficult. And he felt now we are parting. And he tried to sympathize, to empathize, and so that I would, but I asked him a very hard question. I said, I can't understand. I can't understand. So eventually, I had to reach Pastor Brian. Oh, after a long time, he said, we need you here. Come, we want to talk. And so when he came over, we talked about it. And then I said, okay, go home. We will respond. We called Pastor Victor again, and we engaged him this time now and said to him, we don't understand about the policy. We are passing through a very hard time. We need to worship God. So now, we have made a decision. We want to maintain the same doctrine which we received. We want to remain the same people. We have got nothing to do with the laws and all this kind of, and we want to be happy. So, go and wait. So, I wrote a letter to Pastor John Coleman, to Lloyd, Pastor Brian, Pastor Victor Semelenko. Out of loyalty, we remained for some time. But due to need and urgency of all that we could get from a mentor, somebody who would mentor us and lead us and guide us, we were missing. So I thought of telling that story, a little story about the way I was engaged. And I've been thinking about the initiative of traveling all these kilometers to my village to call my father and my mom to convince them this man is not sick. This man will be here and he'll be preaching the gospel. But please give him time. And that gave me some peace and solace. And all the time, when hard times came, and my father would confront me and ask me questions and do something. In fact, he went to an extent of looking for a wife. And he wanted to look for a wife who has got children, 2 or 3, because he thought, I'm crazy, I cannot give, sire a child. And I said, no, you cannot do that, Dad. And again, he comes and tells me, what are you doing? You used to send some money, you used to do things, but now you are here, you are poor. I said, Dad, please, I serve God, and I know my God. I want to learn some things here. I want to do things practically, and I want to preach the gospel. So here I am. Went to an extent where he had to say, okay, he started respecting me and what I stand for. So this is about training. It's about training. We are talking about engaging people and leading by example. And of course, this is about when we have new converts, we have novices in the church, we have brothers and sisters who know nothing about what they have to do. It takes the ones that have been there and are in for it and would like to, help others stand up, to actually sacrifice their time, their energy, to groom them, to bring them up, to make sure that they stand on their own. There's nothing as good as that. There's no joy as when you see people or somebody that you preach to, or you trained or you groomed, and when he's able to do things. It is such a great joy. That's why, even up to date, last year, when we had a Geelong convention, me and Pastor Steve Carl, we had to drive to see Pastor Brian. He was just from hospital. And having suffered from heart disease, everyone was thinking the man is going. So, but it was just unstoppable. He had already booked his flight to Kenya. So we thought, if we don't talk to him, he will go and die in Kenya. So let's go and... So we had to drive and go there and sit down with him to talk with him. Please, don't go. And then that's how he didn't go. And then we had to go and announce to the Pan-African rally in Kenya as to how Pastor Brian could not come. But he still believed that he's going to come. And this time when I came, he said, this time I'm coming. And I'm well. So I said, that's good. That's a plus. That when they see him in Kenya, he is like, it's just a father to them. I would like us to turn to 2 Timothy chapter 2. Sometimes we talk of these things when we are having a memorial service or burial ceremony. It's when we talk of David was this, but it's good also to say when we are together and how much we appreciate and what it is, the importance of bringing up somebody or people, and you see the result. As they say, the proof is in the pudding. 2 Timothy chapter 2, it says here, verse 1, it says, though therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus, and the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who has chosen him to be a soldier. So Paul was talking to Timothy as a son. So now in this camp, we have been talking about, and particularly this time, now in this topic, as we are talking about engaging other people, taking them along with you or with us. I remember in those early days, very young men, we learned a lot through going through very rigorous program. And what really struck us, that wherever we do, wherever we went, whatever we could do, we would always find this Pastor Brian, and those others that came, particularly from Headlight, they would always be there. They would be examples and lead by example. So that really gave us a real motivation, and that we want to be like that. So from very early age, we had people who, they got a very good training as to things about witnessing, doing follow-up, and making other people stand. And as Paul was talking to Timothy, we in our own capacities, be it in a house meeting, in the area that you come from, in a small assembly, there are people there who are struggling. There are people there who don't even know what to do. They need to be held up. They need somebody to make them stand. They need to be shown what to do. And they need, the best way to do that is not like when we come here, just talk. This is something practical that we need to go in there and do it. And when we are doing it, we see the result. That's where, like now as we talk, we don't have avenues of praying for somebody who is sick, praying for people to receive the Holy Spirit, counseling, engaging people. It is done practically. So when you take people with you and they sit down there and listen, and as they do that, you also give them an opportunity to do it. As they get home, they say, oh, it was so good. Practical. We have seen it. And once they taste of it, it will never go from them. They will always want to do. I always take an example of small puppies, young dogs. In Africa, our dogs go hunting. But the way they are trained, or the way we train them, when I was young, I used to have dogs. And we used to go in the bush hunting for deer and dicks and squirrels and all these, including buffaloes. And so dogs can engage. And dogs sometimes, when they are well trained, they can have a big kill. But if you have them in your house as young ones, and you never take them out to the bush, they will never catch even a small animal. When they see something like a deer, instead of running for it, instead of knowing that's meat, they run in the house. They run because they are fearful. So as we take out these dogs, the way we used to do is you take it with you. Sometimes you carry it, and then you get in the bush, let it loose, then it follows you. But after you kill an animal, don't ever make a mistake of taking that animal at home, and then you give it meat there. Kill it in the bush, and let it taste the meat and the blood there. Tomorrow it will follow you. And it goes on and becomes a good, very good hunter. That it can go on its own, it will always go and bring a good deer. Or come and call you, let's go. Then you find a big deer killed. So that's the hard to do with when we are taking people out to do things for the Lord. Once they taste it, it never goes. They just want to be there. They just want to do it. It is different from when we talk from platform. We just keep on talking and we don't put it into practice. The best thing is just there in the field. We do it and we see it bears fruits. I think my time is up. Good.